Cowboys.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but the Dallas Cowboys played so much better without the presence of one of their future Hall of Fame players on that offensive line. And they were missing a couple of offensive linemen, but one of those guys that was missing, I still believe is part of the overall solution to how you can revitalize the Dallas Cowboys offensive line and bring them back to their glory days of mauling grown men in the trenches. Brock Hoffman made an absolute statement against the Washington Commanders, against a pass rush that features one of the top 5 sack getters in the league currently in Dante Fowler, former Cowboy. Per PFF, TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman both allowed 0 pressures, 0 quarterback hits, and 0 hurries versus the Commanders. And there's no wonder why we saw Cooper Rush probably have what was his best game of his career, if we're being completely honest, against the Washington Commanders, as he was able to stay upright and pretty much work out of a clean pocket all night long. TJ Bass was the highest graded pass blocker on the team at 82.7. The next highest offensive lineman was Cooper Beebe and Terrence Steele at 64.7. But outside of TJ Bass being an absolute hoss, which he is, and the Cowboys honestly are in very, very good position as it pertains to offensive line depth, because you may have not only found your guards of the future, and I say guards for a reason, bear with me for a second, you may have not only found your guards of the future with TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman, but you also found your swing tackle of the future as well with Asim Richards, because Asim Richards has had some very, very good showings the past few games for the Dallas Cowboys, as he's been on somewhat of a rotation with Tyler Guyton. And again, we're going to address that in a second as well, because I don't really like the whole rotation thing that they're doing with the left tackle position. But not only PFF noticed how well the offensive line was playing, NFL Pro backs that up as well. If we actually take a look at this in the vacuum, Cooper Rush was 24 of 32 for 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he quite easily outplayed the Washington Commanders rookie phenom, Jaden Daniels. He had a 117.6 quarterback rating, whereas Jaden Daniels had an 82.7 quarterback rating. And then you take into account that Rico Dowdle very nearly had himself a 100-yard game with 19 carries for 86 rushing yards. That's good enough for a 4.5 yard per carry average. And it's not like he was the one doing a lot of that extra work, because he only got 1 rushing yard over expected in this game, which means that he pretty much took advantage of the holes that were made available to him by the offensive line. He didn't really give a lot more extra than what he should have based off what the line was providing, right? So you look at both of those things, and then you take a look at the 18.2% quarterback pressure rate that Cooper Rush had to play under. And then if we compare that to what Dak Prescott had to deal with all season long, there is a very, very clear difference in the level of protection that Cooper Rush has gotten, at least in this last game against the Washington Commanders. You can see in week 1, even in that win against the Browns, Dak faced a 31.4% pressure rate compared to that 18% we just saw for Cooper Rush. Against the Saints, 25.6% pressure rate. Ravens, 32.7%. The only game where he had a comparable pressure rate and even lower pressure rate than what Cooper just had was against the New York Giants, and that was also one of Dak Prescott's better games this season. Then we go to the Steelers, 26.7% pressure rate. Against the Lions, he was pressured on 47.4% of his dropbacks against the Detroit Lions. I don't know about y'all, but I don't know how you can expect any quarterback in the league to play well when you're literally getting pressured on half of all of your dropbacks for an entire game. He dropped back 33 times. That means 16 to 17 of them dropbacks were under pressure. That is absolutely nuts. Then we look at the 49ers, 25%, and then the Falcons, 31% pressure rate. Again, Dak Prescott faced unbelievably high pressure rates all season long behind that offensive line that was leaky, including Zack Martin, Terrence Steele. That whole right side was an absolute mess. But then we see Cooper Rush come in against the Washington Commanders team that, like I said, features one of the top sack getters in the league with Dante Fowler, and he was able to stay upright for the majority of the game. He only got pressured a total of 6 times in this game against the Commanders. He dropped back 30 42 times. So only on 6 of his dropbacks out of those 32 was he actually even pressured by anyone. And he was only sacked 1 time, guys. So this in itself shows how much of an improvement the offensive line made without there being any real actual statistics you can look at for an O-line. You kind of have to extrapolate how the O-line is playing based off of other factors from different positions that benefit from O-line play, like the running back and the quarterback. And that in itself shows you that a guy like a Brock Hoffman is making an absolutely massive impact on that offensive line when given the chance to play. He also did this very same thing last season. So this isn't one of those situations where, oh, we're overhyping the guy that just had a decent. No, Brock has been putting foots in people's asses since last season. Brock has displayed that nastiness, that toughness, that grittiness, almost at times too much nastiness, because I think last time he played, he got a personal foul for being a little bit too nasty out there. But Brock has always been a guy that plays with a lot of attitude, that plays with a lot of grit, and plays with a lot of physicality, and he finishes his blocks. And when I tell you he finishes his blocks, I'm talking about he's one of those guys that once he gets his hands on you, he is not taking his hands off of you until it's time to line up for the next play. He don't care if the whistle blew or not. He's going to keep his hands on you. Ask Frankie Louvu. Trust me. Brock Hoffman is one of those guys that you want in the trenches with you, because he's going to bring that physicality, that certain level of physicality that we're all fiending for as Cowboys fans, to see this team really come back and be the bullies again and stop getting pushed around and getting punked. Essentially, guys like a Brock Hoffman, a TJ Bass, these big cornbread-fed white boys from Nebraska, they just toss hay bales over their shoulders. That's what you want on the offensive line, man. And those of y'all that, oh, he said something about racing, shut up, man. Y'all kill me, bruh. Y'all kill me, bruh. We all can see what colors we are, okay? It's okay if I bring it up. I'm not saying it in a divisive fashion. I'm being for real. Those big corn-fed, hay bale throwing white boys are the last dudes you want to play up against on the football field in them trenches, man. If you've ever played football, those are the last type of O-linemen you want to see, man, because you know them boys about to be overly strong for no reason, bruh. So I'm just saying, Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, they have the correct archetype to be amazing offensive linemen for the foreseeable future. And they cheap. It's right. Jerry Jones, DeMalley, they cheap. They're not going to be very expensive to keep around because they just haven't gotten the opportunity to play and really drive up their value that much. So Brock Hoffman, I believe he's on his last year of his deal, or he has like one more or something like that. I think he's one of those guys that will need to be re-signed. So Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass, those guys are going to be worth pennies on a dollar compared to trying to go out there and get some premium talent, or even trying to draft another first-round offensive lineman. I say all this to say, when you got a Brock Hoffman, when you got a TJ Bass, when you got a Asim Richards, when you can have the flexibility to play around with Tyler Guyton a little bit, maybe take Terrence Steele off that right side, see if Tyler Guyton can hold up better on the right side, since that was the side he was used to playing in college, even though it really should translate left and right, especially when you're playing the right side because you have a left-handed quarterback. But that's neither here nor there. Tyler Guyton struck with his rookie season. Let's keep it a buck. So the Cowboys have to figure out something with Tyler Guyton, or just kind of stay the course with him and let him really hammer it out in that left tackle position. But with the way those two guys played, it's not out of the realm of possibility. You look at a Tyler Smith move to the left tackle, have TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman playing your guard positions, have Cooper Beebe in the center spot, and then your right tackle, you have Tyler Guyton and Terrence Steele to kind of play in a rotation or just see who can win that spot. I wouldn't be against that at all, and I honestly feel like that iteration of the offensive line would probably be better than what we started the season out with. And that's just keeping it a buck, man. Zack Martin is over the hill at this point. He's had an amazing career with the Dallas Cowboys. He's done an amazing job for Cowboys fans, but there comes a time in every dog's day where you have to get taken out to the woodshed. And I think it's time for Zack Martin to get taken out to the woodshed, Old Yeller style, and be put out of his misery, because what he's showing us this year on film is literally a shell of the Zack Martin that we're all used to watching. And it's sad when you see guys that are Hall of Fame level players kind of get reduced to that point in their career. So for Zack Martin's sake, just for his legacy and just what we remember him as Cowboys fans. You know, Cowboys fans, we fickle now. We will switch up on you if you give us too much film. All them soft and cuddly memories of Ezekiel Elliott are damn near gone now, and people are at this point where they just don't want to see Zeke no more. So
Zeke went from being like a Cowboys folklore legend to now he's a Cowboys social pariah to a lot of Cowboys fans. So you don't want to overextend your stay here in Dallas. And I think that just Zack Martin at this stage in his career, what he's shown, man, just what he's shown, the fact that his body's starting to give up on him, I think the Cowboys are going to be in good hands for the foreseeable future with guys like Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass and some of these other really intriguing depth pieces they have on that offensive line. I don't think the Cowboys offensive line is as big of a need as people are thinking that it is. I think the biggest need on our offensive line is probably to fire our offensive line coach. I think that he, out of anything, is the biggest problem with our offensive line, he being Mike Solari. I think he's probably the biggest issue with our offensive line because when you see guys that have traditionally played well or just guys that normally play well, you see the whole line look bad. That's coaching. That's not one player. That's coaching when you see the whole line looking bad. The whole line look lost. When you see Hall of Famers like Zack Martin out there looking lost, that's coaching, man. That has nothing to do with the players or the play on the field. I think that we will see a huge improvement from our offensive line once Mike McCarthy gets his best buddy out of there. And just this buddy system as a whole, I think, has kind of stunted the Cowboys' growth. Scott McCurley with the linebackers and Mike Solari and Mike McCarthy. I think this Mike McCarthy, his buddy system has absolutely stunted the growth of some of our players. And just overall, we got guys that are ready to step up. We got guys that are ready to play NFL football in a starting role, and we need to utilize those guys instead of just trying to draft a full row of first-round offensive linemen. That is just not going to happen. I don't know why y'all feel like to build the offensive line, you got to have first-round guys at every one of those positions. That is not going to happen. That should not happen. And any team trying to do that is a fool. You cannot build your team like that because at the end of the day, you still need guys that can catch the ball and you still need guys that can break away from the pack as far as explosive speed and being able to generate big plays. You can be blocking well all you want, but if ain't nobody out there to catch that ball, ain't nobody out there to run the ball, none of that matters, man. It only goes so far in today's NFL. Y'all talk about all the time out, oh, it's a new age, it's a new generation. Yeah, this new generation means you don't need to be trying to get 5 first-round offensive linemen, bruh. Get you a couple all-pros up there. Get some guys that are starting-level offensive linemen, and you go with that, man. Quit playing. Y'all, bro, y'all be killing me with some of the stuff y'all be saying. But either way, we stink. Them same old Cowboys and Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass. Take a bow, gentlemen. Take a bow. Y'all ball.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.